Here we go. Hello, Jimmy.
Hello, how's everybody in beautiful Orlando, Florida?
Everything's good. Everything's good on this end. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Uh,
Excellent, Jimmy.
and ready to start with what I call Utah Genius Big and Beautiful GOP uh, dominates. I like to call it the big GOP lie.
Let's
If you don't
hear it.
mind, why do I call it the big GOP lie? Look, if you remember, President Obama was criticized because they gave everybody 24 hours to read the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, and had 10,000 pages, and that was absurd. Who could read them and who could do this? Okay, GOP, stop bullshitting the American public. You gave your people and everybody a 1,000 page tax cut for the rich and the powerful at 9 o'clock at night last night, and by one you were voting on it. 4 hours. 4 hours. Okay? Did you anybody know that in that bill they remove silencers as weapons?
That's correct.
No, they don't discuss that in the big beautiful thing. Somebody just and it went through. They change so people who live in states where you pay state taxes, you could deduct up to a certain amount of money from your income tax, federal income tax. Fine, they brought votes with that. But what they don't tell you is what the CPO, Moody, and others have been telling you, not me. And by the way, all one of them is nonpartisan, and the other two are Republican companies saying that this bill will cause a 3 trillion, not billion, trillion deficit in the next 5 years. Look, for those of you who have difficult with math, and I understand that I'm one of them, let me make it simple.
Mhm.
I'm going to take away half of your salary, but your expenses stay the same.
Mm.
Oh, but they cut 800 billion out of Medicaid. But that's a bullshit argument from people like Congressman Dan Crenshaw of Texas. That's not enough. Let's start by that. That's not enough.
Mm.
Okay? That's not enough. Do your math. If you can't do math, I understand that, but do your math. Okay? You cut off more than 880 billion in taxes. So it's not one thing is not going to cover the other. Simple math. Okay. What happens? You cut out your income, but your expenses stay the same. That creates a deficit. That's pure, simple math. Not something that you need to go, oh, wait a minute. How this? No, no. Very simple. Less money coming in, expenses stay the same. So that creates that a difference right there. That's a deficit. The CPO, Moody, and another uh, Republican think tank has said that it's going to cost between $3 to $4 trillion in deficit. You cannot simply cut out your income and expect that everything is going to be fine. Second lie. This one comes from, they put out there as their spokesman, Congressman Dan Crenshaw from Texas, District 2, who says that we are lying when we say that the cuts to Medicare is going to affect the disabled and the poor and the sick because this is going to cut out fraud. Look, Congressman, get yourself alive and learn what fraud is. The fraud that's in Medicaid promotes
Mhm.
people to the U.S. Senate. Oh, in the state of Florida, that happened. Okay, so what happened is that the company that our state senator, chaired and was the CEO of it, overbilled the federal government over $1 billion into Medicaid. Medicaid found that out, and they reached a settlement. And this is where this bothers me. They reached a settlement in which they paid 72% of what they stole. They paid back 72% of what they stole. They didn't pay 100. They paid 72% of what they stole. So they kept money to which they were not entitled to. That is the fraud that is Medicaid. You have doctors overbilling. You have doctors billing for people who have dead. There, you have doctors billing for people that are not even their patient. That is the fraud. The U.S. citizen who has a Medicaid card, that's not where the fraud is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you cut the people who receive the benefits, if anything, the companies are still going to overbill, and the companies are still going to have a way to steal money.
Okay.
Second, what they don't tell you about Medicaid, and Congressman Crenshaw, you should learn about this, is that if you go to an emergency room and you don't have insurance, normally that's covered by Medicaid.
Correct.
So that part is unpredictable. So when you say I'm going to cut something, but it's not going to affect anybody,
It does.
it does. And you should be ashamed of yourself, Congressman, calling out people when you should be called out for your lie. If anybody's lying, it's you. But that's a topic for another day. Now, the other thing about this bill is that it really this tries to make, and this is the part that bothers me, takes the rich and the powerful and the people who buy votes in Congress and buy the White House themselves, and the White House being a billionaire, take those tax cuts and make them permanent, which is kind of stupid because technically a new Congress can revoke that law. Just let everybody know. So when you call them permanent, you're again lying to the American public. Okay. The other thing that is in this bill that they won't tell you is that there's a bunch of cuts to federal funds coming down to try to pay for it.
Right.
But they didn't tell you exactly in what areas. Well, I could tell you one. If you recall, Trump told everybody, all the states, be prepared and don't count on FEMA. And my state, Florida, got hit in the last 5 years by 3 hurricanes.
That's
Okay?
correct.
And caused severe damages. Nobody's fault. Nobody's fault. So you don't start talking about fraud and stuff like that because that's the bullshit that you Republicans like to talk about. There's fraud. Yeah, there's fraud in everything. Get a life. So if the state of Florida would have to cover another hurricane this year with no help from FEMA, we don't have the money. Sorry, we don't have the money. As a matter of fact, as I'm speaking right now, we don't have a budget, much less the money.
Okay? That's right. We do not have a budget here in Florida yet.
Yet. Okay, that's what I say. As I'm speaking, we don't have a budget.
Correct.
So that is part of what I like to call the lie. Now, when people say, well, what can we do? How can we stop this deficit? Well, there's 2 things you can do. Real quick. Do you know why there's a difficulty in Social Security and why people say that Social Security is not underfunded? It's caused by the hypocrisy of the rich. You pay up to the first $165,000 cap of what you make into Social Security. If you make more than that, it's 0. But if you make more than that in taxes, you have everything. Now, the rich are not carrying their share of supporting Social Security. Like always, the Republicans who call themselves conservatives and not conservatives, they're whores to the rich, say, hey, it's okay, rich people. You don't have to pay your fair share. You don't have to pay your fair share. We'll get it from the middle class and we'll get it from the poor. That's why there's such a major deficit. You increase that from 165 to 4.2 million, just the first, and I'm not going all the way, 4.2 million. You will make the Social Security solvent into the year 2082.
Okay.
But just by doing that,
you're right.
Okay. The second thing, look, I was in the military. I wore the uniform. So before you veterans get bent out of shape, don't. We all know those who serve, that if you want to talk about waste, there's a lot of waste in the Department of Defense. First of all, we don't have enough mechanics or people to use all the tanks that we have. And this thing that we need, the newest and latest one, and all this one, when we know that the conventional wars are over, that we should be spending into software and other areas that is the
Drones.
new way, is over with. We just now there's a new jet that costs $1 billion. Really, really, we need new jets that cost because the old ones don't function. But I get on a plane on most airlines that are 20, 25, and 30 years old. Just for the record, because people think that the planes that they're boarding are planes that were built last year. No, no. For that, you have to be on Breeze. Other than that, everybody else has old planes. We get everywhere. We get to Europe. We get to Asia. But we need new jets, and we order more than we have pilots to man them. But then again, this is the problem. There's a huge waste in the Department of Defense. And then you have a moron who doesn't even understand what a procurement is. And for those of you who do not know what a procurement is, basically an assigned expense to a item. He doesn't understand that, but he is the Secretary of Defense. So that's part of the big lie. They're not doing their job. They're cutting the taxes to the rich, screwing the middle class, screwing the poor, screwing everybody else, and doing nothing. And I'm going to say this. Republicans in the big, beautiful bill done nothing to deal with the deficit. Zero. Cinch. They created more deficit.
Right.
Okay.
And that's my largest disappointment is that the deficit grows despite this talk, this constant beating of the drum about the deficit. And Jimmy, I was listening to Grover Norquist on Washington Journal, C-SPAN, the other day, who has famously stated, we're going to make government so small you could drown it in a bathtub. And he was trying to explain the budget. And even I had to stop and sit down and listen carefully to his words. However, the hope is that the deficit, the tax cuts specifically will be paid for through the prosperity that the tax cuts will generate, the tariffs that that would generate new money for or additional revenue for the government, whereas these tax cuts will put more pockets into the wealthy to invest more. We know that they save their money, they invest their money in the market and not necessarily in building things. And so it was very hard for me to say, wait a second, I'm on board with this. It's those deficits that we have harped on as a nation year after year after year, and this big, beautiful bill just doesn't address it. And the Republicans, again, betrayed their constituents when they voted to move this forward.
Well, their constituencies are the rich and the powerful. They don't care about you and me. The Republican Party's never cared about the average Joe. It's always about the rich and powerful. And by the way, do you remember Ronald Reagan?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do in the 80s.
What he said was the trickle down economy, which is the same way of saying, hey, the rich and the powerful, we give them tax cuts and they're going to invest more money, and that's going to trickle down to everybody. It never does. It's stupid. It's a lie. And what's really sad is that Mike Johnson knows it's a lie. Dan Crenshaw knows it's a lie. Donald Trump knows it's a lie. Secretary Treasurer Bassett knows it's a lie. They all know it's a lie, but they sell it to us. And this is the problem that I have. Look, the pure definition of conservative, I am going to challenge the Republican Party. You are not conservative. The bill you passed last night, the only thing it has of conservative is reducing taxes. And that is not a conservative value. Conservative value is balancing the budget. Mm-hmm. Okay? It is not reducing taxes for the rich and the powerful who put money in your pocket. No, it is balancing the budget, which they have no plans to do. But to say that because the rich have more money, they're going to invest it, and what? Oh, I'm not going to tell you what they're going to invest it, but they're going to invest it. They haven't invested it ever. They just continue to accumulate more and more money. We know that. And sometimes, and this is the sad part, that they won't tell you that most of these companies are not investing in the US. They're investing outside.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the outside countries give them lower taxes. You could kill people, working them to death, and we don't care. We have no safety guards for your employees. That's what they're investing in. So if you think that they're going to come over here, no. Now, there's one way that they could pay for it, and this is the interesting thing, but it's not in the bill. The war that recently came up with Donald Trump and Walmart shows you that Donald Trump is not as stupid as most Democrats know. He's a great liar, but he's not stupid. I think that's where a lot of Democrats are confused. He told Walmart and the other companies to eat the tariffs because he knows they increase prices.
That's correct.
He knows they're going to increase prices. It's not that the other people will know it's not going to increase prices. Look, you're the person who does the press conferences for the White House. She's not too smart, and she said, "Oh no, it doesn't." Yes, it does. We all know that. If you're not going Temu, go on Amazon, go on every other place where you're buying things from China, and you know their prices are increased. And it's 30% for every $100, you're paying $30 extra. Okay,
Yeah.
so if something that is 500 is going to be now 650, just so everybody can understand that. You say, well, China manufactures parts for cars, manufactures things for your roofs, things that you put in your sidings in your houses. Jason Bohr, and I could keep going on. Okay, so don't stop pretending that there's just little tricks that they do. They do more than that. But have said that, here's the other part that they won't tell you. Half of the medications that senior citizens use in this country come from China and the Philippines. And they have heavy tariffs on those.
Yes, sir.
And they have not exempt them. Okay? They have not exempt them. So, said that, the truth of the matter is that at this point, with that 30% that he's charging China and everybody else, he intends to use that income in his mind to balance the deficit. With all due respect, that 30% to be effective to take care of $3 trillion, you would have to really, it would take more than 20 to 22 years mathematically to come up with $3 trillion. And by that time, we would have had another 10 trillion added to our deficit. So people, let's stop pretending that this is a beautiful bill. It's big, but it's a big lie. And the things that are in there that we're going to be surprised with is immense. And I bring up the silencer because realistically, somebody paid off a congressman. I have to say this. Somebody paid off a congressman to say that a hunter or somebody for their protection needs a silencer. Silencers, just so when I shoot, you don't hear what I'm shooting. And by the way, those of you who never use a weapon but pretend that you do, a silencer takes away your accuracy. Believe it or not, it takes away the accuracy. So if you're going to say, well, yes, no. The only benefit of a silencer is that you don't hear it. But as to accuracy, it takes it away. Anything over 150 feet, a silencer will really screw up your accuracy. I don't care what the movies show you, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Now, there are silencers, before somebody says, there are silencers for rifles. Those are different. I'm talking about handguns. Now, not only does it say it's not a weapon, you do not have to register it, and you do not have to include it in the 3-day waiting periods. In other words, You have a 38 and you want to kill your spouse with it, you could go get a silencer tomorrow, put it on there, and nobody in the house heard it, and you're good to go. Uh,
Mm,
why did they decide to throw a silencer in this bill? Uh,
right,
if you remember the movie All the President's a Man, I'm going to say this: follow the money, and you'll be surprised.
right.
Everybody's making money, everybody's rich, they don't care about you. So the big, beautiful GOP lie, we're going to pay for it for years and years and years. It creates, by bill, one bill, not 10, not five, one bill creates a $3 trillion deficit. Thank you, Republicans, for your incompetence.
Jimmy, is there anything in this bill that you do like, that you think is good for the average American?
Look, the middle class tax breaks are not bad.
Okay.
Are there enough? Not really. And if you take them proportional to what the rich get, not even close. But cutting down taxes on that, yeah. Uh, and you have to understand, there's a lot of what I call appearances. There's a part of this project that says that every child that's going to be born in the United States, they're going to set aside $100,000. No, excuse me, $1,000,
$1,000.
$1,000,
Okay.
and they're going to put it in a account in the stock market. And when that
Yes.
person reaches a certain age, will have a bundle of money. Well, for, uh, forbid that we happen to have another stupidity like we've had this year with increasing tariffs, doing this and screwing up the economy, and that those investments go down the drain, like a lot of other investments have gone down the drain. So there's no guarantee that this is going to happen. It sounds really great, but this is what my grandfather used to teach me. There's things that sound very idealistically good, but realistically, they don't make any sense. $1,000 right now doesn't buy you much. And if you could think that in 64 years, that $1,000 is going to be something like $100,000, that's possible. But in 60 years, $100,000 is going to have less value than it has today. That's what I'm thinking. It's more of a illusion. And by the way, question that is not answering that part is who's going to be managing that money and how much of a fee are they going to be collecting to
That's
do so,
true.
and who's going to pay for it. So, the truth of the matter is that this looks good, and to a certain sense, if if they had cut other areas of waste, I would have been happy. And this is my problem. The only thing that it really decided to touch was Medicaid. If they had said, I'm going to take 20% off the Department of Defense, and that's going to give me $500 billion towards the deficit, I would have been happy. The Department of Defense, buy less weapons, buy less jets, buy less. Fine, I don't have a problem with that. So when people tell me what they could have done, yes. Are there some good things? Yeah, but are they worth mentioning? No.
Jimmy, to kind of go along with this particular topic about past legislation, I just want to add into the conversation about the Genius Act. It's officially called the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stable Coins Act, and it's a bill that's made its way out of committee, out of the Senate, that aims to regulate stable coins, a type of cryptocurrency pegged to the value of another asset, often the US dollar. And so this particular bill will offer clear rules for issuance, transparency, and reserve requirements. This was a very contentious bill that at one point several Democrats were not in favor of it moving out of committee. I see this as innovation, particularly as we see other countries move towards a stable coin in their economies. I know that Senator, I forgot her name already. It's just I can see her, Elizabeth Warren. There we go. Senator Warren is a strident opponent of cryptocurrency, and she wasn't too happy on the Senate floor as it passed. What's your thoughts on the Genius Act?
The Genius Act has the correct title. They're a genius of how they could bullshit you into believing that this is a Genius Act. What does Bitcoin have to do with being a genius? I don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be critical, but I don't know. But it is a genius. It took a genius to bullshit you to believe that this is going to regulate Bitcoins. Now, one, does it stabilize on the US dollar? Yeah. But right now, the US dollar is below the euro, is below the
The British pound.
UK pound. And basically, right now, it's falling and falling and falling more and more because of our deficit, and because we got a less than perfect credit rating, and because people see the U.S. economy going down because they have a president and a cabinet that doesn't understand economy. So yeah, but what it doesn't regulate is where the genius is.
Mm-hmm.
It will tell you that if I want to send $2 million to President Trump in order for him to give me a embassy in Colombia or in some other country,
Right.
and I send it, I put it in his bitcoins, where it came from and what it's for. That's still out. Okay, Bitcoin has been used for, and let's stop pretending that it is something new. It's been used by corrupt governments to do corrupt things. That's why El Salvador is so into Bitcoin, because they're so corrupt. And so he loves Bitcoin. Yeah, because he can get all the money in the world and doesn't have to say where it came from or how he spent it. Okay. That part it does not regulate. And it doesn't regulate. And this is the other part, the person who's managing it. And if you remember, we just sent to jail somebody who was a manager, and he stole the money.
SBF?
Okay? Money. Okay. We all know that. So when we say to the people of the United States, this is going to fix it, you're a genius, because you have fooled the majority of the population of the United States to believe that this is going to regulate Bitcoins. It does nothing. It just makes them legal, and it makes it legal for you as a U.S. senator to get money from one of the companies who wants to pay you off to do something without the people finding out about it. There's no trace of the money. That is where the problem still lies, and that you are a genius. You have fooled everybody to believe that this regulates Bitcoins. It regulates nada. The only thing it regulates is that it's going to be with U.S. dollar value. Whoopee. And what do? Today you had $400, and the dollar went down, and now you have 350. It's kind of stupid, but it's not a genius. It's just a genius that they take it for full. Look, this is the problem that we have with our government today. Okay. This is a big and a beautiful budget. No, it isn't. It's a big, beautiful tax cut. That's what it really is. Call it what it is. Everything else, it cuts out of some of the essentials, yes. And everything else, yes, it cuts them out. So with all due respect, you are not helping the American public. So stop calling it the big, beautiful of it. I have a new title for it. The big and beautiful tax cut for the billionaires and the rich, and screwing the middle class and the poor. By the way, the tax exemptions to the rich and the powerful in that bill are permanent. The ones for the middle class are for 5 years. Just let's call it what it is. So
Right. Just like the last tax cuts, Jimmy, that were temporary, and it surprised a lot of people. Like, wait a second, I think it was this year or last year that they filed their taxes. Like, wait a second, my I'm paying more this year. It's like, yeah,
you pay more because the tax cut that they gave you for a child of $4,000, that also disappeared. In case you didn't know that. I mean, this didn't disappear. I'm sorry. It was reduced by $1,000 per child. So if you have four childs, you lost $4,000, and so on. So it's really something that it's nothing to do with protecting the middle class or the poor. And what bothers me is that they've been bullshitting and lying to the middle class and to the poor, say, we're going to do this. And for the record, stop calling yourselves conservatives. You're not conservatives.
Hmm.
You are leeches.
Wow. Wow. And
That's
another indictment of the conservatives. Speaking of conservatives and the liberals and everyone in between, let's bring it closer to home. Um, but however, before we do that, before
yeah.
we go come back to Florida, can we take a short trip to South Africa and just call out the bullshit racist statements of Donald J. Trump in regards to his rationale for bringing 50 something odd refugees, white South Africans from South Africa because of a genocide that's occurring there. This and then to lecture the president of South Africa and tell him what's happening in his country based on false and misleading information. I I surprised to hear this coming out of the president's mouth? No. Was I disgusted by what I was hearing? Yes. Knowing that the facts, the way, the misleading by this president on this particular issue was disgusting and incredibly serious. Very serious. Your thoughts, Jimmy?
Well, if I have to give credit to President Trump, he is right on one issue:
What's that, Jimmy?
fake news. And he uses it better than anybody else.
Yes, he does.
That's what he presented on to everybody in the United States is fake news. He knows it. This is
Yep,
what really bothers me. He knows that's fake.
he
But
does.
he had in that room Elon Musk, who paid for his presidency, who told him that he wanted to bring these people. He said, no problem. If they're white, they could come in. Don't bring me
Mm-hmm.
any black South Africans, but whites, you can bring all the ones you want. The same thing that when we talk about deportations, look,
Mm-hmm.
the majority of the people here who may be undocumented here might be Hispanic, but they're not everything. We have people from Europe, we have people from Canada, we have people from Asia
That's right.
that also come and for the record, we have people who come from the Caribbean, Barbados,
Right,
Jamaica,
right.
and all
Yeah,
those other places, and in Africa that come in. But we don't discuss those. Those are not the ones that are on jet planes or flown out. We don't discuss that there's Asian gangs here, that there's Russian gangs here,
that's
that
right.
there's uh, Irish gangs here, and I could keep on going. Those are not being talked to be deported. It is I am against bringing in, taking out of this country the Hispanics because right now they are the majority. They are the majority of the people who are coming in, and right now they are the majority of the new U.S. face. So I'm going to take those out and make America not great again, make America white again. So
Mm-hmm.
let's stop pretending that. The second thing, look, surprises me that Donald Trump is a racist. No, we've known that for years. Why are people surprised that he acts the way he told in 2014 when he put the full paid ad saying kill these
Right.
four black kids because they committed a crime that he knew they hadn't? But he was there. Who was the person who came down from his and called all Mexican rapists? That was Donald Trump. So why are we surprised that he's acting racist now? No, I'm not. The thing that he has now is that he has proven that he's the king of fake news. Donald Trump is the
There it
king
is.
of fake
There it
news,
is.
and we know it. And at the same time, look, he did it with the president of Ukraine when he said that they started the war. Everybody knows that is false. But then again, This is the same person who promised us that before he take office, and one day he will resolve Ukraine. He promised that before he took office, and one day he will resolve the war in Gaza. He's a liar. And we know that. So, with all due respect to everybody, I'm not surprised. Am I disgusted? Not really, because I don't expect him to treat people with decency. Who has he ever treated with decency? Nobody.
Ooh, good point.
Why would I say, well, hey, this person is going to? Not really. In his mind, Americans are better than the rest of the world. As a matter of fact, in his mind, Americans are the superior race, and everything else is a sub race. That's Donald Trump.
And I think he laid that out very clearly during his conversation with the South African president, and his insistence that there is a genocide occurring in South Africa of white South Africans. It's bullshit.
Bullshit of the majority of the biggest bullshit that's ever come out of his mouth. And God knows a lot of bullshit comes out of his mouth.
Yes, indeed.
Well, that one to be the major one. Whoa.
I tell people, watch how he moves. Don't listen to what he says. So let's bring it home. The Orlando Dreamers baseball here in Orange County, Orlando, Florida. There's a possibility. There's a conversation. The mayor of Orange County, Jerry Demings, made a statement that could be perceived as positive for having the Orlando Dreamers here in Orlando, or even better, maybe not so. I'm a White Sox fan. Go White Sox, Chicago White Sox. If talks fail with the Tampa Bay Rays and Tampa, St. Petersburg, whatever, bringing the Rays here. What's your thoughts? I know Commissioner Mike Scott, made some comments in the positive for having Major League Baseball in Orlando.
Okay, ever since Linda Chapin became the chairman of Orange County,
Okay.
She walked in a state of the county with a baseball cap promising that we were going to have baseball in Orlando. That goes back to the early 2000s.
Wow.
The last 30 years, I've been hearing we're going to have a baseball team. Now, the idea is that we're going to be able to steal from St. Pete and Tampa, the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm not sure if we can, but we can make a good effort to do it, so be it.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if Tampa Bay and St. Pete reach an agreement? Well, we're up the creek without a paddle, and we have built a stadium that we don't, not that we don't need, but we can use. It's the old expression, let's put the horses before the cart. Do we have a team? No. We don't have a team. Let's call it as we don't have a team. Maybe Tampa Bay would come over. We know that the Major League Baseball is not looking at expansion, so it's not going to be an expansion team here. Let's stop pretending that. Florida already has 2 teams. It's Miami. We tend to forget about that. And it has Tampa. I don't see a 3rd team coming to Florida. I don't see it happening. Yes, the NFL has 3 teams in Florida, but that's the NFL. It's a completely different thing. And for the record, one of those teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars, are not doing that well. Okay?
Yes.
So let's stop pretending that everything is. So the idea that we could get a new team is kind of appropriate with the name of the team that they suggested, Dreamers. These people are dreaming that they're going to bring a team to here, and I appreciate that. But there's nothing in concrete yet. But we're talking as if it was.
Right.
As if we build the stadium, they will come. That was a great thing for a movie, but not necessarily in real life. So the truth of the matter is, we're thinking that the owners of the Tampa Bay Rays are just going to give up on Tampa, St. Pete, and all that area, and they're not going to renew, and they're going to take up and move. That I have not heard that to be concrete yet. So would I be investing money in a dream when there's so much other things that need to be in Orange County? Me personally, I would. But I understand those who think about it. But I also understand that Jerry does not want to give away free land.
Sure.
Jerry does not want to give money unless there's a commitment. And Jerry's not going to give any tax exemptions either.
Right.
So right now, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if with the present composition of the Orange County Commission Board, they would be willing to spend the amount of money that the owners, well, not the owners, because this is the other thing. They own nothing. They own a concept. They don't own a team. That's clarified.
Right.
They have the money to put up to own a team, yes, but that has not happened. The truth of the matter is that I'm not sure if the present Orange County Board of County Commissioners would fund at the amount of money that they're requesting at this time. I just don't know. And with the other expectation is that by next year, you will have a new commissioner in District 2 and District 3, 4, and possibly, maybe not in District 6. But 2 and 4 are going to be new. And we don't know who are going to be elected there and how they're going to walk in and decide to spend money. The current one may. So if they want to push this, they might want to push it before August of 2026, because after that, they're going to have 2 new commissioners and maybe more. And
that's right.
So, exactly. As a matter of fact, no, they're going to have 4 new commissioners. So,
yes,
that is a reality. The other thing about this is that realistically, I like the name. You're dreaming. You're dreaming to have a team. You don't have one, but you're dreaming to have.
They could come with a better name. I mean, geez, no.
Oh, come on. Look, the Orlando Magic.
Do we have to associate everything with a theme park? You know, hey, that was one of the reasons why I wasn't an Orlando, Magic fan when they first started. And I love.
Come on. You've always been a Chicago Bulls fan. Stop.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Love watching the Bulls.
And even if they call themselves a different name, you're still going to be a Chicago Bulls
That's
fan.
Right. I'll support the Dreamers if
and the same thing. I'll be honest. I will die a Mets fan. So you can bring down here whatever team you want. I'm still going to be a Mets fan. I'll go to if the Mets come down to play. I'll go see them.
Exactly. I will see the White Sox play. And if there is going to be a stadium, please have a dome, because it's hot. It's hot here. Period.
Yeah.
It's hot. And good food too.
Well, don't push it. Don't push it. I've never got, and I'm going to say this, I don't go to baseball games to eat. I go to baseball games to see. As a matter of fact, I'm fine with hot dogs and popcorn. I'm fine with that. That's the American tradition. This thing now that there's gourmet food and parks and they cost $30 for some gourmet food. No. If I want gourmet food, I go to a nice sit-down restaurant where I'll pay for it, and that's what I'm doing. But baseball games, hell no.
Oh, Jimmy, I love baseball food. Every chance I get, I will do the trifecta, particularly at in Chicago, White Sox. I would get what I call the trifecta: a hot dog, an Italian sausage, and then a Polish sausage. And
now,
I would eat it all.
Okay, now what you need to tell the public is that a Chicago hot dog is not like any other hot dog in the United States. First of all, it has a pickle on it.
That's right.
Okay? Second of all, it doesn't have ketchup on it.
No ketchup. That's a sin.
Okay?
And Pope Leo will say that too.
Okay. So basically, and I don't want to keep going, but a Chicago dog is completely different than if I go to a regular baseball park where they put ketchup, mustard, maybe some relish on it, maybe some sauerkraut on it.
I can do.
And here down the south, they put even some Coleslaw on it, fine.
Uh,
As a matter of fact, I'm weird. I come from a family that used to put and still puts on their hot dogs barbecue sauce.
okay, I guess maybe chili.
Oh yeah, that too.
Oh yeah,
Well, but
chili.
depends what kind of chili.
Hormel.
Well, that people in Texas will tell you that's not a true chili.
Oh, oh, don't let them hear that in Wisconsin. Oh no.
And so when we go to this, we have to go. But baseball team here, I'll bet you $20 it's not gonna happen. So
I'm not gonna take that bet because I don't think it's gonna happen either. No way, no way. And speaking of county commissioners, this morning it was reported. I think it was WK something or another. Let me pull it up. Um, let's see. I should have had this already queued up. I apologize.
Real radio.
Yes, yes, I do. It was it was WFTV Channel 9. FDLE investigating Orange County Commissioner's use of skybox tickets. This is a continuation of WFTV 9's investigation into the use of skybox tickets by Commissioner Myra Uribe, and I guess the tickets were used by her husband's former charity, All Star Dads, and it appears that FDLE is expanding an investigation into the commission as a whole, dating back to December 1st of 2018. Um, Channel 9 will continue to investigate. They've asked Commissioner Iribe for additional information in regards to the investigation regarding All Star Dads that she said she was going to provide by May 20th. However, she has not released that information. So, Ashlyn Webb, Channel 9's investigative reporter, is on this particular story. What's your thoughts, Jimmy?
Well, that would include almost everybody in the county commissioner as of now, because they all were elected either at 2018 or after.
Correct.
The only ones that are no longer there that would be covered by that period would be Sibling and Bonilla. Which,
Correct.
okay, those are gone, but they would be covered in that period. And it's
Yes.
going to be interesting how thorough they're going to be about this and when they're going to give out their conclusion. This is what bothers me.
Okay.
I've always been of the philosophy, if you have something to investigate, give the results, not the year of an election. In 2026, which is a year away from now, people are already campaigning to run for mayor of this Orange County because Jerry is termed out. And basically, he has ambitions to run for the governor of the state. It's not a secret. So if that's exposed next year, that might affect his campaign, might affect the campaign of those county commissioners who are thinking to run for mayor in 2026, which I understand is Bonilla, Sipling, and Uribe. There might be some others, but those are the three that come to mind immediately. So if they're going to wait until when the campaign starts, or they're going to do it a month before the election, I would have a problem with that. Look, what is there is there. Get it out as soon as possible. And if there's any charges that are going to be filed, and let me put it this way, this is the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They are not charged with making reports saying, oh, this was inappropriate. No, their thing is either to charge somebody or to make a statement there was no violation of law. One or the other. But timing in politics, you and I know this,
Yes, sir.
is everything. Okay, this comes the week of the qualification. This could be horrendous for any candidate. And even if they say, look, what they did was stupid, what they do was immoral, what they do was inappropriate, but it was not a violation of law, that will screw a candidacy. You and I know that. So the only thing I can ask the FDLE is please, please, pretty please, do not come out the week prior to the primaries. Look, you got a full 7 months to come out with your report by December of this year. Do it. It's not like it's going to take you 2 years. But then again, they have reopened a case that's 20-some years old, which supposedly after 20 years they found something, and I'm all happy for them. So it might be that they reach their conclusion by the year 2045. And by then, everybody has been elected and out of office. Just being facetious here, but that's something that we need to discuss. But it is sad that this is keep coming back and back and back, and we just can't put an end to it, one way or the other. If they did something wrong, take care of it. If they didn't do anything wrong, just let us know.
And pre-qualifying is approximately a year from now for county commissioner and other offices. So, like you said, the timing is suspect. June 8th is the qualifying period for candidates for Orange County Commissioner. So, yeah, FDLE is on the clock, and it would be good to have the results of this investigation by, December. However, it does make this particular race for county commission that much more exciting, for lack of a better word.
Yes, but you're saying something that is correct mathematically. The truth of the matter is, you and I have run campaigns for county commissioners, assisted, and you do not, in order for you to raise a nickel, you have to announce that you're a candidate. You have to register as a candidate. So if you're thinking that these people are going to be out there without being able to raise any money until they register in June of next year, that's not going to happen. A lot of them, if they're smart enough, if you're running for mayor, you could do it tomorrow. There's no problem.
Right.
Do it tomorrow. Okay, no problem. If you're running for county commissioner, you should know by October 1st where you want to run. That's fine. That is not a problem.
Correct.
But that is my concern, because to raise money, to go out to put out literature, to go out and say, I'm running for, and start knocking on doors and doing what you need to do. If you're running for mayor of Orange County, you should be open your campaign next month, a year before qualifying. I'm sorry. This is a race that's going to cost at least $1 million or more. Okay?
You're right.
So, and that one, you don't have to wait for anything, because that one is the countywide. Okay. That's the one. And unfortunately, part of the people that could be falling under this investigation are thinking of running for mayor. So that is the other thing. Now, this is the part that concerns me.
Okay.
How they target this. There's some people who say that Coney and his things, what he did, hurt Hillary Clinton. I think the Democrats have been fucking up elections for some long time. And Hillary was not even the first. Wish it was, but it wasn't. But Coney did not really help. It kind of hurt because it gave, in a civil platter, Donald Trump to campaign against her and put it up to lock her up. Okay. Yes. So let's not commit that mistake. So if you can, get it out as soon as possible and let the campaign people deal with it and work on it.
Right. This is a good segue, Jimmy, to our fuck ups of the week.
Well, I've already gave the one for the Republicans because there's no bigger fuck up than what they just did last night. Sorry, yeah, guys, you fucked it up. You reduce your income, you cut Medicaid benefits for the elderly, for the poor, for the disabled, and for children, and for single moms. You fucked them over, fine. That's on you. Okay, let's go here, Democrats.
Okay.
Democrats, I've been saying this, and I'm going to say it again. Once you lose people's trust, it becomes very difficult to recuperate. You have this week failed again to do your job. You should have been out even prior to last night yelling,
Yep.
people,
That's true.
these people are going to screw you. They're going to take away your benefits. They're going to take you. And I don't give a shit that you've been doing that in the House, and I don't give a shit that you've been doing that. You have to go out. Look, there is a thirst for it, and it's being claimed by Bernie Sanders and AOC because none of you else are out there. Pete Buttigieg is trying to go out there, and Pete, stay out of this one. You have too much baggage. You are too associated with the establishment of this party, and the establishment of this party. If they run another candidate like you, we're going to lose in 2028, guaranteed. But you should be out there. Look, one of you made a comment, and I already said this. Yeah, the price of eggs are now $4 instead of $6. Whoopee! You should be out there. Price of gasoline is increasing. The price of food is increasing. The price of everything is increasing. And right now, get prepared because Walmart has told you, not Jimmy or Fallon, Walmart has told you to get ready because every price of everything you buy is going to go up.
That's right.
Everything. And why? Because Donald Trump has up his ass the tariffs. But how much are you campaigning on that? No. You're trying to campaign on the fact that the man kept his word. Forget about it. Donald Trump is not the issue. It's the pocket, idiots. Talk about the pockets. Now, you're not going to have health insurance. Hey, if they cut $880 million out of it, maybe they decide not to cut beneficiaries, but to cut off your medications. Bingo! To make you pay a co-payment of $20. Where are you going to get the $20 for the pills that you need for your anxiety, for your depression, and for your diabetic and other conditions? Bingo! That is where you need to be campaigning. These people are not for you. These people are lying to you. These people are cheating you. And they're basically helping the rich and fucking over the middle class. Are you doing that? No. What are you doing? Nothing. The perception is that you're doing nothing. That's a fuck up. But the biggest fuck up is that basically you did not tell the American public, as of today, all the bad points in that budget. Other people like me and others are doing that. That should be coming from the Democratic Party. And the major fuck up is you don't have a leader. You are leaderless. The Republicans have Donald Trump. You could criticize him. You can say whatever you want.
That's right.
And most of what you can say is true. But he's their leader. They fall in line. They go out and lie to the American public and promise the American public they're going to do something. But you have done nothing. So, do I sound like repeating the same bullshit every week? Yeah, it's because you're doing nothing. So you are consistently fucking up, Democrats. Get your shit together. And with that, you can subscribe. You can comment. You can send me a note. You can disagree with me. You can like it. You can dislike it. I don't care. I really don't care. There's no skin off my nose. So, with that in mind, I will see you next week. And remember, they are lying to you. The U.S. Congress is lying to you. They're not out there to help you. They're out there to help the rich. See you.
Have a great Memorial Day, Jimmy.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.